Our topic is on anti-malaria, anti-parasitic, anti-helminthics, and herbal medicine. The first three topics includes the protozoal infection and helminthic infection, while the last part is about the herbal medicine. So, lahat ng bulate ang pag-uusapan natin sa unang tatlong topics, and that will be followed by the herbal medicine. Malaria remains among the top 5 causes of death among children younger than 5 years, and it affects about quarter of a billion people and causes among 900,000 deaths annually. So this remains one of the most common diseases worldwide and leading cause of death. There are several species that infect the human. That includes your Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium ovale, and Vivax. The life cycle of malaria, so this is initiated when the female Anopheles mosquito injects the Plasmodium sporozoites during a blood meal and into the dermis, into the bloodstream until it reaches the liver. The parasite undergoes an asexual replication within the hepatocyte, resulting in production of liver stage schizons. So this is one of the target of this anti-malarial drug. So when an infected hepatocyte ruptures, tens of thousands of your merocytes are released into the bloodstream and infect the red blood cells. And once inside the red blood cell, the merocyte matures into an asexually dividing blood stage schizon. So this is another target of your anti-malarial drug. So when the schizont ruptures and may infect another red blood cell, small proportion of the merocyte become gametocyte, which is infective to mosquitoes. And then inside the mosquito, it will develop into sporozoite that is now ready for the new infection. So that is the short life cycle of this malaria. So there are drugs that kill the schizons in the liver, so that is a primary tissue schizanticides, and drugs that will kill forms only in the erythrocytes, so that is your blood schizanticides. So sporonticides prevent sporogony and multiplication in the mosquito. Anti-malarial drugs are divided into three. One, that action is against an asexual blood stage responsible for the disease. So these drugs will treat or prevent clinically symptomatic malaria. So that includes your artemisins, chloroquine, mefloquine, quinine, quinidine, pyrimethamine, sulfadoxine, and tetracycline. While your atovaquone and proguanil, so these drugs target not only the asexual erythrocyte form but also the primary liver stages of Plasmodium falciparum. So these additional activities shorten to reveal days and required period for post-exposure chemoprophylaxis. And the third group is your primaquine, which is used mostly to eradicate the intrahepatic hypnocytes of your Vivax and Ovale that are responsible for the relapsing infection. Artemisinin derivatives includes your artesunate, artemether, dihydroartemisinin. And the activity of this artemisinin and derivatives seems to result from the cleavage of the drug's peroxide bridge by reduced heme iron that is produced inside the highly acidic digestive vacuole of the parasite as it digests hemoglobin. So this is metabolized in the food vacuole of the parasite, forming toxic free radical. The semi-synthetic artemisinins have been formulated either oral, so that includes the three, your dihydroartemisinin, artesunate, and your artemether. Intramuscular, so there are two, your artesunate and your artemether. The only intravenous is your artesunate, and the rectal form or the rectal route is also your artesunate. The artemisinins generally are not used alone because of their limited ability to eradicate infection completely. They are given in combination. And these drugs, your artemisinins, are highly effective for the first line of treatment of malaria. Of course, that is when combined with other anti-malarial. So it is not used alone as chemoprophylaxis because of their short half-life that is around 1 to 3 hours. Artemisinin derivatives are potent and fast-acting anti-malarial drug. They are the first choice for chloroquine-resistant malaria. Of course, again, that is used in combination. They are reliably effective against quinine-resistant strains, but most of their activity or their adverse effect rather are gastrointestinal. So it can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. There is no teratogenic effect, but in pregnant rats and rabbits, artemisinin can cause increased embryo lethality or malformation early post-conception. Next drug is chloroquine. So this is the 4-aminoquinoline derivative, which is a weak base. And they are well absorbed from the GI tract and rapidly from intramuscular and subcutaneous routes. So they are widely distributed to tissues and has an extremely large volume of distribution. The antacid may decrease the oral absorption of this chloroquine. The action of your hepatic CYPs produce the two active metabolites that includes your des-ethylchloroquine and bis-des-ethylchloroquine. Your chloroquine is safer when given orally because rates of absorption and distribution are most closely matched. Their peak plasma level are achieved in about 3 to 5 hours, and chloroquine is excreted largely unchanged in the urine. So the renal clearance of your chloroquine is about half of its total systemic clearance. The mechanism of action of chloroquine is that it will accumulate into the food vacuole of susceptible plasmodium. So this drug concentrates in highly acidic digestive vacuole of this plasmodium, where it binds to him and disrupts its sequestration. So it prevents polymerization of the hemoglobin breakdown product, heme, into hemozoin. Your chloroquine is highly effective against your erythrocytic form of Vivax ovale malaria, even Knowlesi, your chloroquine-sensitive strains of your Plasmodium falciparum. But there is the mechanism of resistance is that when there is a decreased accumulation via activity of the membrane transporters. So the resistance can also result from a decreased intravascular accumulation of your chloroquine via your PFCRT or your Plasmodium falciparum chloroquine resistance transporter gene. Chloroquine is effective in chemoprophylaxis or treatment of acute attacks of malaria, either caused by Vivax ovale or malariae. So this is the drug of choice for the non-falciparum and sensitive falciparum malaria. And as I said, it's for chemoprophylaxis. This is this has no activity against primary or latent liver stages of the parasite. They has rapid control on the clinical symptom and parasitemia of acute malarial attacks. And most of patients become completely afebrile within 24 to 48 hours after receiving the therapeutic doses. So it is used in autoimmune disorder, not only as an anti-malaria, but also like for rheumatoid arthritis. So that is the non-malarial use of your chloroquine. Doses of chloroquine used for oral therapy of the acute attack may cause a gastrointestinal upset, so that is the irritation, even headache, visual disturbances, and urticaria. So that is by your skin rashes. And in high doses, that can cause severe skin lesion, peripheral neuropathy, myocardial depression, and even the irreversible retinopathy and ototoxicity. Chloroquine may also precipitate porphyria attacks, and in prolonged treatment with suppressive doses, occasionally causes the side effects such as headache, blurring of vision, diplopia, confusion, convulsion, and even lichenoid skin eruption, bleaching of hair, widening of the QRS interval, and T-wave abnormalities. But of course, this complication may usually disappear after the drug is withheld. So, what are the precautions and contraindications of your chloroquine? This drug is not recommended for treating individuals with epilepsy or myasthenia gravis, and they should be used cautiously, if at all, in the presence of an advanced liver disease or even severe gastrointestinal, neurological, or blood disorder. And in rare cases, your chloroquine can cause hemolysis in patients with G6PD. And this drug inhibits your CYP2D6, and it can interact with a variety of different drugs. Next is quinine. And your stereoisomer of quinine is the quinidine, which is a more potent as an antimalarial and more toxic than quinine. This quinine is rapidly absorbed orally and metabolized before renal excretion. So this absorption of your drug occurs mainly in the upper small intestine and is more than 80% complete, even in patients with marked diarrhea. The intravenous administration of quinine is possible in severe infection. So the drug may be given orally and parenterally, or that is through the intravenous route. The target of your quinine is the asexual erythrocytic forms, and it has no significant effect on hepatic form of malarial parasite. So what is the dynamics? This will complexes with double-stranded DNA to prevent the strand separation, resulting in blocking of the DNA replication and transcription to RNA. So the again, asexual erythrocytic form is the target, and this is solely a blood schizontecide. So that is about your quinine. Quinine is an FDA approved for the treatment of uncomplicated Plasmodium falciparum malaria, and quinine along with its stereoisomer quinidine, which is the dextrorotatory stereoisomer of quinine. This is especially valuable for the parenteral treatment of severe illnesses. So that is when you give the quinine in IV route. These severe illnesses may be secondary to the drug-resistant strain of your Plasmodium falciparum. And quinine is commonly used with doxycycline or clindamycin to shorten the duration of therapy and limit the toxicity. This quinine should not be used routinely for prophylaxis to prevent emergent resistance. And because of its toxicity, the short half-life, your quinine is again not used for chemoprophylaxis. So the toxicity and short half-life makes it as a drug that should not be used for chemoprophylaxis. Toxicity of your quinine. So remember, no? Synchronism, ano ang nararamdaman ng pasyente? Gastrointestinal distress, there's headache, vertigo, blurring of vision, and tinnitus. The cinchona alkaloids that is metabolized extensively, especially by the CYP3A4, so only about 20% of the administered dose is excreted in an unaltered form in the urine. And in severe overdose, that can result into a cardiac conduction, that is the QT prolongation, that resembles quinidine toxicity. Hepatotoxic effect, like your hemolysis in G6PD, even the black water fever, no, that is the triad of a massive hemolysis, hemoglobinemia, and hemoglobinuria leading to anuria and even renal failure, and sometimes it causes death. But this is a rare hypersensitivity reaction to quinine therapy that can occur during the treatment of malaria. So quinine is also contraindicated during pregnancy. So remember all of this. Adverse effect and toxicity of this quinine. What about mefloquine? This mefloquine is a synthetic 4-quinoline derivative that emerged from a Walter Reed malaria research program as a safe and effective drug against the drug-resistant strain of Plasmodium falciparum. They are highly effective blood schizonticides, so they can only be given orally due to its local irritation. Though its mechanism of action is not known, but this should be a first-line drug given for prophylaxis in all geographical areas with chloroquine resistance. And this drug should be reserved for the prevention and treatment of malaria caused by the drug-resistant Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium vivax. This drug is an alternative drug to quinine in acute attacks and even in an uncomplicated infection resulting from the Plasmodium falciparum. Mefloquine is extensively metabolized in the liver by CYP3A4, and this CYP can be inhibited by ketoconazole and induced by anti-TB drug rifampicin. The excretion of mefloquine is mainly by the fecal route, and only about 10% appears unchanged in the urine. For the adverse effect, your vivid dreams are common. Significant neuropsychiatric signs and symptoms can occur in 10% or more. in patients receiving these treatment doses: gastrointestinal distress, skin rashes, headache, and dizziness. So these are some of the short-term adverse effect of treatment. Um, with high doses, it can cause cardiac conduction defect, psychiatric disorder, so that includes your confusion and decreased sensorium and acute psychosis, and even seizure, your neurologic effects. So for these symptoms, these are all reversible when the drug is discontinued. These two drugs, sulfonamides and sulfones, they are combined with an inhibitor of parasite dihydrofolate reductase to enhance their antimalarial action. The sulfonamide act as the anti-metabolite of your para-aminobenzoic acid and blocks the folic acid synthesis, so that will inhibit your dihydropteroate synthase. So it is combined with pyrimethamine plus sulfadoxine that can cause the synergistic antimalarial effect because of the sequential blockade of the two folic acid synthesis. So treatment of chloroquine-resistant forms of this species can use this combination of agent. Sulfonamide and sulfones are slow-acting blood schisticides and are more effective against Plasmodium falciparum than the Plasmodium vivax. So this is more a blood schisticides against your Plasmodium falciparum. With toxicity, it includes skin rashes, gastrointestinal distress, and hemolysis, even kidney damage and drug interaction caused by the competition for the plasma protein binding site. While your pyrimethamine can cause a folic acid deficiency, especially in high doses. Other antimalarial drugs include doxycycline, which can be used for chemoprophylaxis for travelers to geographical areas with multi-resistant Plasmodium falciparum. Amiodarone is widely used to treat malaria in many countries because of its low cost, and this is effective against chloroquine-resistant strain of your falciparum. It is also used in fixed combination with your artesunate. But toxicity, it can cause a granulocytosis and aplastic anemia. Atovaquone is a quinine derivative, and this atovaquone is in fixed combination with your proguanyl hydrochloride. So what it does, your atovaquone is a lipophilic analog of your ubiquinone. And this ubiquinone is necessary for the dihydropteroase dehydrogenase, which is an essential enzyme in the pyrimidine biosynthesis in the parasite. So what the atovaquone does, it will inhibit the electron transport that causes the collapse of mitochondrial membrane potential, and it will inhibit regeneration of ubiquinone. So kung walang ubiquinone, walang magpo-provide ng para sa dihydropteroate dehydrogenase at walang mangyayaring pyrimidine biosynthesis among the parasite. So, this drug is highly effective or highly active against Plasmodium falciparum, the asexual blood stage parasite, and even the liver stage falciparum, but not against the Plasmodium vivax liver stages hypnozoite. So, again, combination of your proguanyl and atovaquone that is used for chemoprophylaxis of your chloroquine-resistant malaria, even protective against your mefloquine-resistant falciparum strain. But the adverse effect of your combination, or especially with your atovaquone, that can cause GI upset, your abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, headache, and rashes. That will require cessation of therapy. Vomiting and diarrhea may cause decreased drug absorption that can result into a therapeutic failure. Halofantrine is active against erythrocytic but not other stages of all four human malarial species, including your chloroquine-resistant falciparum. A drug that is not used for chemoprophylaxis because of its potential for quinidine-like cardiotoxicity, and that is with your QT prolongation and embryotoxicity. Although the mechanism is unknown, and lumefantrine, that is a related drug with minimal cardiotoxicity. And this lumefantrine is used in fixed combination with your artemether. So that is with your coartem. The combination of drug is used for uncomplicated falciparum malaria. These are some of the drugs for prevention of malaria in travelers. So for areas without resistant Plasmodium falciparum, you can use your chloroquine. For chloroquine-resistant Plasmodium falciparum, either your Malarone or your Merfloquine. And for multi-drug resistant, you can use your doxycycline. And for terminal prophylaxis of Vivax and Ovale infection, or an alternative for primary prevention, that is the purpose of giving your Primaquine. So what is Primaquine? So this is a synthetic 8-aminoquinoline. And in contrast to the other anti-malaria, it acts as an exoerythrocytic tissue stages of your Plasmodium species in the liver to prevent and cure the relapsing malaria. The drug is completely absorbed after oral administration and is followed by an extensive metabolism. This drug has a peak plasma concentration that can occur within 3 hours, and it will fall with a variable half-life averaging for about 8 or 7 hours. This drug, Primaquine, is metabolized rapidly, and only a small fraction of a dose is excreted as a parent drug. And importantly, Primaquine induces your CYP1A2. So the mechanism of action of your Primaquine, so it forms a quinoline-quinone metabolites, which are electron transferring redox compound that act as a cellular oxidants. So this is a tissue schizonticide, limiting malarial transmission by acting as a gametocide. So as I mentioned, that is an exoerythrocytic stages of your Plasmodium species. Action of Primaquine, so eradicating the liver stages of Vivax and Ovale. So it is used in conjunction with blood schizonticide. Your treatment is lasting to about 14 days, and that is the standard, especially after treatment with chloroquine. This drug is an alternative for primary prevention. Toxicity, just like the other drugs, it can cause gastrointestinal distress, pruritus, headache, methemoglobinemia, and leukocytosis. And serious toxicity can cause hemolysis in G6PD deficient patient, and this is contraindicated during pregnancy. So these are some of the drugs for prevention of malaria, again, in travelers. So the regimen for malaria chemoprophylaxis include the primary three drugs, your atovaquone, proguanil, and doxycycline, which can both be used in all areas, and mefloquine, which can be used in areas with mefloquine-sensitive malaria. In those few areas where chloroquine-sensitive strains of falciparum are found, chloroquine is still suitable for chemoprophylaxis. But in area where your chloroquine-resistant malaria is endemic, mefloquine and atovaquone proguanil are the regimen of choice for chemoprophylaxis. While in long-term travelers, chloroquine is safe at the doses used, but some recommended yearly retinal examination. And lastly, your atovaquone proguanil that has been studied for prophylactic use up to 20 weeks. So for prolonged period, no, the combination of your atovaquone and proguanil is recommended. Now on the second part of the lecture, the antiparasitic. So let's start with amoebiasis. This disease is seen most commonly among individuals living in poverty, crowded condition, and areas with poor sanitation. And there are three morphologically identical but genetically distinct species of entamoeba: your histolytica, dispar, and your Moskovsky, that all of these exist. And human are the only known host for this protozoa and transmitted by the fecal oral route with ingested E. histolytica cyst that will survive the acid gastric content and transform into trophozoite that will reside in large intestine. And many individuals may be asymptomatic but excrete the infectious cyst form, making them as a source for further infection. And when the trophozoite travels and invades the colonic mucosa, it reaches the portal circulation until it establishes the amoebic liver abscess. So that is how you get infected with your amoeba, uh, particularly your histolytica. The drugs for the treatment of amoebiasis can either be a tissue amoebicide or a luminal amoebicide. Luminal includes your diloxonate furoate, your iodoquinol, and your paromomycin, while your tissue amoebicide includes your chloroquine, emetins, metronidazole, and tinidazole. The drugs act only in the lumen of the bowels, and the drug of choice for a symptomatic patient is the diloxonide furoate, while your metronidazole or tinidazole together with a luminal agent can be used for mild to severe intestinal infection, your amoebic hepatic abscess, and extraintestinal disease. The mechanism of your amoebicidal action of the most of the drug of this subclass are unknown. Let's start with diloxonide furoate, and the commonly used drug as for the treatment of asymptomatic amoebiasis and mild intestinal diseases. This drug is converted in the gut to the diloxonide-free base. So that is the active amoebicide. Though the toxic effects are mild, they are usually restricted to gastrointestinal symptoms. Protein synthesis inhibitor is that with your emetin and dihydroemetin. That is by blocking the ribosomal movement along the messenger RNA. This drug is used parenterally, either sub-Q or intramuscular, only for backup drug for treatment of severe intestinal and hepatic amoebiasis, together with your luminal agent. The toxic effects are GI distress, muscle weakness, and cardiovascular dysfunction, which includes arrhythmias and congestive heart failure. So again, this drug is restricted to use in severe amoebiasis, where your or when your metronidazole cannot be used, and that is with your emetins. Halogenated hydroxyquinoline, that is your iodoquinol, and the orally active luminal amebicide that can be used as an alternative to your diloxanide for mild to severe intestinal infection. GI effects are common but usually mild, especially if that can be taken with meal. Systemic absorption after high doses may be observed. So thyroid enlargement, skin reaction due to iodine deficiency, iodine toxicity, and possibly neurotoxic effect. That includes your peripheral neuropathy and visual dysfunction. Metronidazole and tinidazole, they are effective orally and widely distributed. The half-life is shorter with metronidazole compared to your tinidazole. And elimination of the drug requires hepatic metabolism. This drug, particularly your metronidazole, can cause reductive bioactivation of its nitro group by ferredoxin. And this ferredoxin is only present in anaerobic and microaerophilic pathogen. So it will form the cytotoxic product. So that is by the radical mediated mechanism that targets your DNA. That radical mediated mechanism is through the single electron transfer from a highly reactive nitro radical, an ion. So that will kill the susceptible organism through this radical mediated mechanism that targets your DNA. So your drug can result into two principal metabolites: the hydroxy metabolite, which has a longer half-life, that is around 12 hours, and about 50% of its anti-trichomonal activity of metronidazole. Your preparation of this drug can either be oral, intravenous, intravaginal, and topical. So this drug is a prodrug, again, that requires an reductive activation of the nitro group by the susceptible organism. Metronidazole is active in vitro against a wide variety of anaerobic protozoal parasite and anaerobic bacteria. So, pwede siya sa protozoa, pwede siya sa bacteria. And this is the drug of choice for severe intestinal wall disease, hepatic abscess, extraintestinal amoebic abscess. So, marami siyang gamit, no? Either protozoa and bacteria. And this metronidazole is a drug of choice for trichomoniasis. While your tinidazole, that may be effective against some metronidazole-resistant organisms. So, backup lang halos ang tinidazole. So, ang main na ginagamit in the clinical scenario is mostly your metronidazole. Other uses of these two drugs that can be used for giardiasis or even Gardnerella vaginalis, and anaerobic bacteria like your Bacteroides fragilis and your Clostridium difficile. So, pwede din naman siya for gastrointestinal ulcer that is related to your H. pylori. So, that is used in combination with other drugs together with your proton pump inhibitors. When it comes to toxicity, gastrointestinal irritation is common, but that can be resolved by taking this drug with meal. Metallic taste, headache, paresthesia, and even dark color urine. So, the urine of some patients may be colored reddish brown owing to the presence of your unidentified pigments that is derived from the drug. With metronidazole, vomiting and diarrhea can be observed as well as an abdominal distress, dysuria, cystitis, and sense of pelvic pressure and dizziness, as well as vertigo. Encephalopathy, convulsion, incoordination, and ataxia may be observed with your metronidazole. While your tinidazole, it can cause neutropenia, dizziness, and ataxia. Disulfiram effect when combined with alcohol, no? And if combined with coumarin, your combination can cause potentiation of the anticoagulation effect of your coumarin. This can be used for pregnant patient and even in nursing mother. That can be uh, both uh, possible for these cases. Paromomycin or your aminocidine. This is an aminoglycoside antibiotic. So, used as an luminal amibicide and superior to your diloxanide in asymptomatic infection. They are also effective against your cryptoporidiosis in AIDS patient and leishmaniasis and even Georgiasis. Systemic absorption and renal insufficiency may lead to headache, dizziness, rashes, and arthralgia. Although rare with oral usage, so GI effect can also observe with this paromomycin and rarely rashes and headache. While your tetracycline that are sometimes used with luminal amibicide in mild intestinal diseases. So if you look at the clinical use, this paromomycin is the drug of choice for treating the intestinal colonization with Entamoeba histolytica. And this can be used in combination with your metronidazole for the treatment of amoebic colitis and amoebic liver abscess. Nitazoxanide. This drug is active in various protozoa, including your Entamoeba, helminth, and metronidazole-resistant protozoan strain. FDA approved for the treatment of your cryptoporidiosis and Georgiasis in adult, just like your Paromo, and this can be used for treatment of GI infection caused by your Giardia lamblia and Cryptosporidium parvum. Your nitazoxanide and its active metabolite tizoxanide that will inhibit the growth of your sporozoites and oocytes of your parvum and inhibit the growth of trophozoites of your intestinalis and your Entamoeba histolytica. Next is for toxoplasmosis. What are the drugs that may be used? So this is a zoonotic infection caused by the obligate intracellular protozoan Toxoplasma gondii. The natural hosts are the cats and other feline species. And the common routes of infection can either be ingestion of undercooked meat containing the tissue cyst, or ingestion of contaminated vegetable with the infective oocyst, or direct oral contact with feces of cats shedding oocyst, or transplacental fetal infection with your tachyzoids from an acutely infected mother. Combination of trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole are the first choice in prophylaxis and treatment of your PCP or your pneumocystis pneumonia. So, given daily, either oral or parenteral. For AIDS patient, this combination may be used as a prophylaxis, especially when the CD4 count drops below 200 cells per microliter. And the oral treatment with a double strength formulation that is used for 3 times weekly. And same regimen for prophylaxis against toxoplasmosis and even infection caused by your Isospora belli. Toxicity mainly with GI distress, rashes, fever, and neutropenia, as well as thrombocytopenia. So, if these are observed, discontinuation or substitute with alternative drugs is necessary. Pentamidine is used to inhibit the glycolysis or interference of the nucleic acid metabolism of protozoa and fungal infection. These are preferential accumulation of the drug by the susceptible parasites that may account for its selective toxicity. So where do you use the drug? So your aerosol pentamidine may be used as a prophylaxis of your Girovesi pneumonia, and with intravenous and or intramuscular administration of the drug for 21 days that is needed in the treatment of your pneumocytosis in patients with HIV. And pentamidine is also used for treatment of your trypanosomiasis. Toxicity of pentamidine, especially with parenteral use, includes respiratory stimulation, and that is followed by depression and hypotension resulting from the peripheral vasodilatation, hypoglycemia, anemia, neutropenia, hepatitis, and pancreatitis. While systemic toxicity is minimal when pentamidine is used by inhalation. Pyrimethamine and sulfadiazine combination, they work synergistically against your Toxoplasma gondii. Even pyrimethamine plus clindamycin or sulfadiazine, that is the regimen of choice for prophylaxis against and treatment of your toxoplasmosis. Active toxoplasmosis, you give this daily for 3 to 4 weeks with folinic acid. So that's to offset the hematologic toxicity. And the Toxoplasma encephalitis with AIDS, high-dose treatment with your pyrimethamine plus sulfadiazine plus folinic acid, and that should be maintained for at least 6 weeks. Toxicity is mainly GI again, your combination of your pyrimethamine and sulfadiazine, but it also includes glossitis, neurologic symptoms like headache, insomnia, tremor, seizure, and even hematotoxicity, which are thrombocytopenia and megaloblastic anemia. Antibiotic-associated colitis may occur during treatment with clindamycin. So again, atovaquone. So this drug inhibits mitochondrial electron transport and probably the folate metabolism. They are poorly absorbed orally, especially if given with food. And most of this drug is eliminated in the feces in unchanged form. In mild to moderate pneumocystis pneumonia, that is its indication. And as what was previously mentioned earlier, the role in malaria, and of course the adverse effect and contraindication of this atovaquone. Trimethoprim plus dapsone, primaquine plus clindamycin, and your trimethoxate plus leucovorin are some of the alternative drug regimen for the treatment of pneumocystis pneumonia. Okay, what about the drug for trypanosomiasis? Pentamidine are commonly used for hemolymphatic stages of the disease caused by your Gambiense and Rhodesiense, not for the later stages of trypanosomiasis because it does not cause the blood-brain barrier. This drug is also used for pneumocytosis and for Kala-Azar form of leishmaniasis. Melarsoprol, an organic arsenal that inhibits the enzyme sulfhydryl. This is the drug of choice for African sleeping sickness. They are parenterally given because of its gastrointestinal irritation, and in some cases, it may cause relative or reactive encephalopathy. A nitrofurantoin derivative, your nifurtimox, this inhibits the parasite enzyme, your trypanothione reductase. And this is the drug of choice in American trypanosomiasis and an alternative agent in African form of the disease and effective in mucocutaneous leishmaniasis. It causes allergy, gastrointestinal irritation, and CNS effects. A polyanionic compound, your suramine, the parenteral form is the drug of choice for early hemolymphatic stages of African trypanosomiasis. It may be used as an alternative to ivermectin in the treatment of onchocerciasis, and it causes skin rashes, GI distress, and neurologic complication. Substrate of your ornithine decarboxylase, your eflornithine, effective in some forms of your African trypanosomiasis. Parenteral and oral are available and that can penetrate into the CNS. And just like the other, it can cause gastrointestinal irritation, hematotoxicity, especially in high doses. Okay, so those are the drugs that can be used for trypanosomiasis, your pentamidine, your melarsoprol, your nifurtimox, suramine, and your eflornithine. Okay, what about for leishmaniasis? Your sodium starbogluconate or your pentavalent antimony is the primary drug in all forms of the disease of leishmaniasis. This will kill the parasite by inhibition of glycolysis or an effect on nucleic acid metabolism. Parenterally administered, and its toxicity is potentially cardiotoxic by prolongation of the QT. These are the alternative drugs for the treatment of leishmaniasis, either your visceral, cutaneous, or mucocutaneous leishmaniasis. The third part of the lecture is on antihelmintics, and these are the medically important intestinal nematodes that is responsive to drug therapy. Let us start with nematodes. With albendazole, the primary mechanism of action actually of these midazoles are thought to be inhibition of microtubule polymerization by binding to beta-tubulin. This drug is larvicidal in Ascariasis, cysticercosis, hookworm, Hydatid disease, and ovicidal in Ascariasis, Encyclotomiasis, and Trichuriasis. So a range of other biochemical changes occur in nematodes following your BZ exposure. That is by inhibition of mitochondrial fumarate reductase, reduced glucose transport, uncoupling of oxidative phosphorylation. Albendazole is the primary drug for Ascariasis, hookworm, pinworm, and whipworm. But this can be used as an alternative drug for threadworm, filariasis, and both your visceral and cutaneous larva migrans. Used in Hydatid disease and active in pork tapeworm. This albendazole is the drug of choice for chemotherapy of cystic hydatid disease due to Echinococcus granulosus, and a preferred treatment for neurocysticercosis caused by larval form of your Tinea solium. Commonly, the glucocorticoid therapy is usually begun before initiating your albendazole therapy, and this is continued for several days after the commencement of therapy. That is to reduce the side effect resulting from the inflammatory reaction to the dead and dying cysticers. Some of the interactions of your albendazole, they are variably and erratically absorbed after oral administration, and this absorption is enhanced by the presence of fatty foods and possibly by salts. Cimetidine decreases the albendazole bioavailability, and the grapefruit can shorten the half-life by 46%. And it has been suggested that your albendazole is metabolized by CYP3A4 enzyme in the intestinal mucosa, and a process that can be inhibited by this grapefruit. When it comes to toxicity, there are few toxic effects during the short course of therapy in 1 to 3 days. But when you use the albendazole in prolonged period of time, it can cause leukopenia, alopecia, and even elevation of the liver function enzyme. But these are all reversible. The long-term animal toxicity studies show that there can be a bone marrow suppression and fetal toxicity. The safety of this drug in pregnancy and young children has not been established. The second benzimidazole is your mebendazole. And same mechanism of action, microtubule inhibitor. This drug is the primary for Ascariasis, pinworm, and whipworm, and backup for visceral larva migrans. Less than 10% is absorbed systematically and metabolized rapidly by hepatic enzyme. And if you look at the drug-to-drug interaction, carbamazepine and phenytoin usually decreases the plasma level of your mebendazole, and cimetidine increases the plasma level of this mebendazole. Gastrointestinal irritation, granulocytopenia, and alopecia, and teratogenicity is observed with mebendazole. The third drug is an structural congener of your mebendazole, so its action is the same on microtubule. An alternative drug in strongyloidosis and trichinosis, and this drug is rapidly absorbed from the gut and metabolized in the liver enzyme. It has an anti-inflammatory and immunorestorative action in the host. This drug can cause the gastrointestinal irritation, headache, dizziness, drowsiness, leukopenia, hematuria, and your allergic reaction and intrahepatic cholestasis. There are reactions caused by the dying parasite that can cause fever, chill, lymphadenopathy, and skin rashes. Even liver failure and Stevens-Johnson's that is fatal may be observed, and this is avoided among pregnant patients and patients with hepatic or renal diseases. The next drug is your diethylcarbamazine or your DEC. The mechanism of action of DEC actually against filarial species are unknown, but this can cause the immobilization of your microfilaria, and it can increase its susceptibility to the host defense mechanism. So that is how your DEC act. And this is the drug of choice for several filarial infection that includes the one caused by your Wuchereria bancrofti and Brugia malayi, and for eyeworm disease or loa loa. DEC is absorbed rapidly from the GI tract with a peak plasma level occurred at within 1 to 2 hours and half-life that varies from 2 to 10 hours depending on the urinary pH. So when this drug undergoes renal elimination, the half-life is increased significantly by urinary alkalinization. So alkalinizing urine can elevate the plasma level, prolong the half-life, and increase both the therapeutic effect and, of course, the toxicity of DEC. And what are the toxic effect of the DEC? So the direct toxic reaction to DEC are rarely severe and usually disappear within a few days despite the continuation of therapy. It includes headache, malaise, weakness, and anorexia. And at high doses, it can cause vomiting. So reactions to protein released by the dying filaria, such as your fever, rashes, ocular damage, joint and muscle pain, and lymphangitis. With onchocerciasis, hypotension, your pyrexia, respiratory distress, or your prostration or the so-called Mazotti reaction is observed with your DEC. So there can be a delayed reaction to the dying worm that can result to this adverse effect. So the Mazotti reaction usually if occur within a few hours after the first dose. Okay, next is ivermectin. So I know that this is not new to you. And this exists as an odorless off-white powder with high lipid solubility but poor solubility in water. So it will intensify your GABA or your gamma aminobutyric acid mediated neurotransmission in the nematode and can cause immobilization of parasite, facilitating their removal by the reticuloendothelial system. Its selective toxicity results because in the human GABA is a neurotransmitter only in the CNS and it does not cross the blood-brain barrier. So again, the mechanism of action of ivermectin is that immobilizes the affected organism, that is by inducing the tonic paralysis of the musculature And this ivermectin induces paralysis by activating a family of ligand-gated chloride channel, particularly the glutamate-gated chloride channels that is found only in the invertebrates. Ivermectin probably binds to the glutamate-activated chloride channels found in nematode nerve or muscle cells and causes the hyperpolarization by increasing the intracellular chloride concentration that will result into paralysis. Your ivermectin is administered as a single dose, and this is the drug of choice for human strongyloidiasis. And therapy frequently causes Mazotti-like reaction. That is the reaction to the dying microfilaria. Ivermectin actually is well tolerated by the uninfected human. But if the patient is having this filaria, the therapy can cause the Mazotti-like reaction. And single dose oral treatment can result in reactions to the dying worm that is manifested as fever, headache, dizziness, rashes, pruritus, tachycardia, hypotension, and even pain in joints and muscle and lymph gland. But this can be resolved by having this antihistamine and NSAID. Even mild itching and swollen and tender nodes is observed in volvulus infection, and these side effects are usually limited to mild cases. So again, this can be relieved by your pain meds like aspirin and antihistamine. You should avoid other drugs that enhances the GABA activity. And this ivermectin is contraindicated in cases of an impaired blood-brain barrier that is exemplified by your African trypanosomiasis as well as your meningitis. Pyrantel pamoate is another drug that acts against nematode, and this stimulates the nicotinic receptor that is present in the NMJ of the nematode. So, wide variety against the nematodes killing adult worms in the colon but not the eggs. And this pyrantel pamoate is the drug of choice for hookworm and roundworm, and this is an alternative drug for pinworm. They are poorly absorbed orally. GI, headache, and weakness may be observed as an adverse effect, and you have to be cautious in giving this drug in patient with hepatic dysfunction. So how do we do the deworming in the Philippines? With the use of albendazole among patients with 12 months to 24 months, you give 200 milligrams single dose every 6 months, and you just double the dose among 24 months and above, and that is also given every 6 months. With mebendazole, this is only given for patients 12 months and above as 500 milligram single dose every 6 months. The common cure rate for light to moderate ascariasis infection is quite high in more than 97%, although heavy infection may require 2 to 3 days, so you commonly double the dose or continue the dose rather for these appropriate days. Trematodes are the next target of our antihelminthics. Blood flukes, liver flukes, and lung flukes are the medically important trematodes. Praziquantel is the one drug that can be used for the treatment of this condition. This is a pyrazoisoquinoline derivative, which is a racemate and consists of a biologically active enantiomer R praziquantel and the inactive distomer your S praziquantel. And this can cause an increased membrane permeability to calcium, causing the mark contraction initially, and then paralysis of your trematode and cestode muscle, followed by the vacuolation and parasite death. Tegumental damage and exposes of a number of tegumental antigen are also another result after giving your praziquantel. So at low doses or low effective concentration, it can cause that activity, that increased muscular activity, followed by contraction and spastic paralysis. But in slightly higher concentration, that's the one that causes the letter B or the tegumental damage. And the clinical efficacy of this drug correlates better with tegumental action. The drug is ineffective against juvenile cystisomes, and therefore it is relatively ineffective in early part of infection. So these are the drug of choice for schistosomiasis in all species, your clonorchiasis, your paragonomiasis, and for infection caused by small and large intestinal flukes, and it's also active against immature and adult schistosomal forms. Praziquantel may be combined with your niclosamide, and it is active against the infection caused by cestodes and all common tapeworms. This praziquantel actually is the drug of choice for treating the schistosomiasis caused by all schistosoma species that infect the human. Absorption from the gut is rapid, and the drug is metabolized by the liver to inactive products. Common adverse effects of your praziquantel are headache, dizziness, drowsiness, malaise, GI irritation, skin rashes and fever. So the abdominal discomfort and drowsiness may occur after taking praziquantel, but these are direct effects that are transient and dose related. The indirect effects that I mentioned are the fever, pruritus, urticaria, rashes, arthralgia, myalgia that are noted occasionally. Steroid can reduce the risk of a more serious infection, but this also reduces the bioavailability of praziquantel. This is contraindicated in ocular cysticercosis, and in animal study, abortion rate is increased. Bithionol is another drug against trematode, and this is a co-drug of choice with triabendazole for treatment of fasciolasis or the sheep liver fluke, an alternative agent to paragonimiasis. Its mechanism of action is unknown and orally effective and eliminated in the urine. Toxicity is almost the same with the previous drug. Metrifonate or trichlorphone. This is an organophosphorus compound used first as an insecticide and later as an antihelmintic, especially for the treatment of Schistosoma hematobium. This drug is converted in the body to a potent cholinesterase inhibitor, your dichlorvos or your DDVP. So this metrifonate is a prodrug, and they are converted to non-enzymatically to your dichlorvos or your DDBP or the potent cholinesterase inhibitor. The active compound or active metabolite is against solely to your Schistosoma hematobium or your bilharziasis. The toxic effect can occur from an excess cholinergic stimulation, and this drug is contraindicated during pregnancy. Oxamnikin, on the other hand, is effective on Schistosoma mansoni infection, the intestinal bilharziasis, that acting on a male immature forms and adult schistosomal form. Schistosoma hematobium and Schistosoma japonicum are refractory to this drug. Again, the MOA is unknown, but paralysis may be considered as its mechanism of action. And dizziness, headache, GI, so common, very common in cases of these drugs that act on this as an antihelmintic. So, Marsotti reaction is observed. So, it's not advisable to use this drug during pregnancy or in patient with a history of seizure disorder. So, drugs against the trematodes. So, that includes your praziquantel. You also have your methionol, your metryptonate, and last is your oxamnikin. The last target is the cestode of these antihelmintics. These are the 4 medically important cestodes. So again, praziquantel is one of the drug. So low doses of praziquantel can be used to treat intestinal infection with adult cestodes. So that is by giving a single dose, oral dose, at 25 milligram per kilogram for Hymenopes, and you just reduce a little for patients with Diphyllobotrium latum, Tinea saginata, and Tinea solium. Last drug is your niclosamide. This acts by uncoupling oxidative phosphorylation or by activating your ATPases. An alternative to praziquantel for infection caused by the beef, pork, and fish tapeworm. Your niclosamide is effective in the treatment of infection from small and large intestinal fluke. And again, the adverse effect is almost the same with other GI distress, headache, rashes, and fever. So it may result from the systemic absorption of antigen from disintegrating parasite. And when the patient is taking niclosamide, ethanol consumption should be avoided. Now we go to the last part of my lecture on herbal medicine. So we will just look at the drugs, that is the common sources of the medicine, the modern medicine now. And of course, the second part are the medicinal plants that is endorsed by the DOH or the Department of Health. In here, the source of aspirin is the bark of the white willow. So aspirin, we know that this is used for fever, pain, inflammatory condition, Kawasaki disease, and even prevention of thromboembolism. So what it does, and the mechanism of action is written on the subsequent slides. The source of your oseltamivir is your star anise. I know that you are familiar with the star anise. This is commonly used in part of the food. use for the treatment your oseltamivir for influenza A and B. So what it does is it inhibits the neuraminidase. Belladonna is common source of your atropine. Even tiotropium bromide is from belladonna or your Atropa belladonna. So this is for COPD patients. Purple foxglove is the source of your digoxin that is used for the treatment of heart failure or your atrial fibrillation. Sweet clover silage is the source of your warfarin, which is an inhibitor of your vitamin K epoxide reductase, which is for the prevention of the deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism. Artemisinin, or your drug for the treatment of malaria, is from your Kinghausu. The chemo agent paclitaxel is from Pacific U or the Taxus. This is common for the breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and most of the solid tumor. Periwinkle is the source of your vincristine, another chemotherapeutic agent. Another anti-malaria, your quinine, is from the cinchona bark. And your anti-hypoglycemic agent, your metformin, which is a biguanide, is from a French iliac. So the last part are the medicinal plants that is endorsed by the DOH. These are actually 10 plants. First is your Acapulco, or the common name is your Bayabas bayabasan or the ringworm bush. This is used for the treatment of tinea infection, insect bite, ringworm, so common na skin disorders, na scabies. So how do you do this? You can just squeeze the juice of your Acapulco and you apply it on affected area. Some cases that can be used for stomatitis. So you just use this as a mouthwash or for bronchitis and dyspnea. So sometimes this is soak and boil for 10 to 15 minutes the leaves of your Acapulco, and they drink it as a decoction, and that is used for diuretic and purgatives and even laxatives. Okay, ampalaya, no, for treatment of or for the uses in diabetes and other causes, other like rheumatism, gout, spleen and liver diseases, or antioxidant, antiparasite, antibacteria, and antipyretic. So how do they do this? They extract the juice from ampalaya, from leaves and fruits, and they drink it. No? Sometimes they use this for burn and wound disinfectant and also for hemorrhoids. So itong ampalaya is a good medicinal plant. The third is bawang or garlic. So the bulbs and leaves may be used for control of cholesterol and some of the control of the blood pressure. So you can even crush this and the juice of the garlic bulb and apply as a wound disinfectant. Siyempre, bayabas, the guava, can be used as an antiseptic mouthwash to delay the tooth decay and gum infection. Pwede din siyang anti-helmintic. So, sometimes, binuboil siya for 15 minutes. They say that this can be used for hypertension, diabetes, and asthma, and even promoting menstruation. Lagundi, for asthma and dyspepsia, and even boil and diarrhea. No, so for other bronchopulmonary disorders, so what they do, they will look for the leaves, the fresh or the dry, and they just add and boil this, and even the roots, no, so they can use this portion of the this lagundi for the treatment of bronchopulmonary disorder. Nyog-nyogan, or the Chinese honeysuckle. This is used for intestinal worm like your Ascaris and trichomoniasis, no? The dried matured seed that is used for this purpose. Sambong is used for diuresis, and it helps the excretion of the urinary stone, and of course for patient with edema. Chaanggubat is for intestinal motility, and it can be used for a mouthwash because it contains a very high fluoride content. Ulasimang bato, or pansit-pansitan, uh, they will just boil this and use for arthritis and gout. And the last is your herba buena, or the peppermint, no? Paborito ito ng mga plantita. So this can be used for analgesic. So we're done with 4 topics on anti-malaria, anti-parasitic, anti-helmintic, and herbal medicine.